today we are raising our frequency with the InterDimensionals. We have with us Laurie Wheeler. She is a, yeah, let's give her a hand. She's a transformational holistic practitioner, a channel, a medical intuit, and an author with over 25 years of experience. Her work is drawn from personal and professional experiences as a healer and interplanetary soul, which has opened her to other dimensions, unfolding the gateway to adventures beyond this realm. So guys, let's give her a big welcome.
So thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate that. I've been channeling and been in this work since 5, okay? And I did talk a little bit in the lecture, gave a little bio on myself. You know, it comes to my understanding at this point, you know, there's so much information bubbling up these days, right? You get on, you know, the internet and there's all kinds of information. How do you make heads and tails of all of it? How do you know what's really true? How do you know what people are putting out is real, right? So for me, I think I've always been a person that goes right to the source, okay, to get my information. So, I mean, there's nothing to say about, and I do it myself, I work in energy and I read, and so it has to run through the filters. And so I'll explain what I've been told from the higher beings, come on in, is that there's a margin of error in humanity of all people who read information. So there's no one that is exactly 100%. And part of the reason, and I've caught myself doing this long ago for a long time, is I would receive some type of information and I'd be like this. I'd be like searching for a word or I wanted to like explain it. I could feel it, but I couldn't find the expression in the English language to explain what it was that I was receiving. So, you know, we're not all perfect in it. And so it has to come through the filters of our brain, and then we have to transpose that into some type of language to make it understandable. So what I love is that I write when I channel, so that sometimes there'll come a word or some kind of a feel and I'll get stumped, like, what did that sound like? What was that exactly? What was that communication? And I have to like wait a moment to hear the clarity of what that really is. It's like, you know, you're tuning into a radio station. You didn't quite tune in yet, like I can't hear that exactly. So I just wanted to explain that there is this information as it comes through, okay? So like I said, I've been channeling since I was 5. I had discussion, communication, my first communication when I was 4 or 5, and I talked to Sananda. Anyone know who Sananda is? Sananda, Jesus, okay? And if you're Arcturian, that's the way the Arcturians speak about Jesus. Jesus, a great master and highly regarded amongst all interdimensionals. Just amazing being to be in the presence of. And I have to tell you, after all these years of being with these beings, I'm still in awe. I'm still humbled, and it almost makes me want to, in some ways, drop to my knees and I shake at times, because it is the most incredible, awesome, and humbling experience to just feel them, never mind hear what they have to say. And they're such a beautiful energy that when they speak, and this is probably the most amazing to my brain, is that what they'll say back is that we are you. And my mouth or my jaw just drops. We are you. And it takes me back. You know, it's like looking at majestic mountains or something that you're in awe of, and you just like, wow. You just wow. It's incredible to know them, to be with them, to speak with them. And they're in these higher dimensions. And that's what today's about. It's about having just a little smidge of a taste of what is this all about? What are we in all of this for, really, when you think about it? What's all this work we've got to go through and the difficulty and the challenges and everything? What is this really all about, right? It reminds me of that saying, what's it all about, Alfie? You know, it is kind of, you know, and actually I'm going to tell you that's what inspired me to write my book. You know, what's it all about, you know? So it's all about learning lessons, right? We learn in order to grow, to come into higher frequency. Everybody here know that it's all about frequency? Okay. Oh, good. Okay, I'm talking to a good crowd. So it's good. Well, not everybody knows that, right? So when I'm speaking with them, the higher, so people have asked me, well, how do you get to speak with them, you know? And I say it really is a matter of your frequency. So your frequency has to be at a certain level, and they have to come down into a certain frequency in order to meet close enough where they can access you, because it's a lot of energy, and I'll just say a lot of work for them to change their energy. Just imagine coming from 3D and trying to put yourself down into 1D, flat nothing, right? I mean, it just doesn't even sound right? So this is the same thing with them. And so when your frequency changes, so does the option or availability to hear and listen to them. And sometimes they just show up, you know, it's not even like you're asking. They just literally one day, hello, you know? Are you in there? No, so one of the energies that I work with is a massive consciousness, the emissaries of light. And one of the consciousness of this consciousness, you know, to put it in this type of terminology, it calls itself Megalithicon. And I said, oh, wow, what a name. I went to Google, look it up. There's nothing about anything about any Megalithicon, except you can imagine megalithic, okay, huge, massive, right? So I said, can you explain to me a little bit about who you are, right? And it began to explain to me, you know, where it is. It's not from anywhere, so to speak. It doesn't have a planetary system or anything like that. It's a very high dimension, only really sound and lights, I guess. I'm not even sure light, honestly, because I've never really seen it before. I just hear from it. And it tells me it's massive, like the size of the crystal of Earth. Okay, so that's pretty big. And it's been here since the beginning of Earth. So it's been watching everything as the evolution has, you know, gone on. And it just, you know, said one day, hello, dear one. So I knew it was different than anything else I heard, because they all address in a different way. And there's just a different feel to each one, just like each human being. You know, if you close your eyes, you would just have a different feel about each person. Well, this is really the way it is in interdimensionals and intergalactics and ascended masters and angels and, you know, all the beings that are. They all have a real little different feeling to them. And I've spoken to many of them. So there was a time when I was on Blind Frog Ranch that, and I said this yesterday in the lecture, that we had finished a shamanic journey and I had gone up the hill to sort of sit and kind of charge myself again in a different way. And I'm toning, and toning is one way that you get in touch, because it's sound, and they recognize sound as language, okay? Much different, or much different than our English language, so to speak, or anything that we know of. And so when you're toning, who here knows how to tone? No? Okay, so let me tell you what toning is. You're going to open your mouth and you're going to go, and I'm sure you've done some of this. That's toning. So people go, ah. I just open my mouth, and whatever level comes up, I know that's where I am. And I keep working it, and it changes, and it adjusts, and it moves and flows, and I can feel the change within my system, okay? So one day I'm up on the hill, and suddenly this little gold being shows up in front of me from like about here to here, about 3.5 feet, and it tips its head, and I guess I must have asked a question, and it said to me, "We are as curious about you as you are about us." And I thought, well, I was kind of taken back, like, wow, you really are? I mean, I know I am curious, but I didn't realize that you are as curious about us. But that we had a conversation about. And it actually told me why it's, coming to the earth. I could see the spaceship. It uncloaked itself. I could see them coming down in the beam of light into the earth, what they were utilizing, the resources in the earth, and then going back up to their spaceship. So I get a lot of this unveiling, I'll say. They unveil themselves for me. And I do believe, and they kind of oftentimes catch me off guard. There was a time, and I do write about this in my book, when I had an encounter with the Greys. I don't get to talk to them all that much. I guess I really, what's going on with them, I have less interest of than maybe other interdimensionals, intergalactics and such. But they showed up, this woman, I was doing some energy work with her, and they showed up, and she had 5 generations of abduction. And the sister carried her baby, and the father had this intergalactic, and it was a messy family, I'll say, of cross hybridization. So anyway, she was really sick of it. I got to tell you, she had just had enough of the encounters with the Greys, right? So no holes barred, I'm in doing energy work, and they come up, there's 3 of them, and they're doing a medical procedure on her. And I said to them, she's a free soul, and you have no right to take her soul and do what you want with it. Because it made me angry. I never get angry when I do energy work. It just bubbled up out of nowhere, right? And the one Grey turns and looks at me and said, "You have no business here." I said, "I absolutely have business. I am here on behalf of this soul, and she's a free soul, and you've disturbed her life, and she is tired of it, and you will release and stop whatever you are doing at this moment." And it turned to me and said, "You have no business here. Leave this alone." And I said, and we argued back and forth, right? And I thought, boy, you got a lot of guts, girl, arguing with somebody who's got that much power, right? But I was there on behalf of her, and I felt like I needed to step in on her behalf. So at some point, one of my guides injected into my thinking and said to me, "Just allow the light to be there." And I thought, oh, okay. And I did, and it cleared. And when she came out of the energy session, she said, "I'm going to tell you what my takeaway was on this. I realized that I now have the power to tell this ET that it has no power over me. I am in my own power." Wow. Okay. Blew me away, and good, you take the ball and run from here, right? But, the thing with the Greys is that they don't have a conscience. They've done the wrong things in their, what we'll call society. And now they're trying, because they know what humanity is about. They know the widespread emotion that we have here. They know how we feel. They know we have caring and kindness and heartfelt emotion, and they are lacking this, and that is what they're trying to inject into their species, because they have lost this. So they lack conscience, so to speak, which is why you hear so many people say in being abducted, Well, it seems like there's no feeling. They don't care. And you're right, they don't. Many are AI and such, and so they're lacking this, and they're trying to put it back into their society or into their, groupings. So I've worked with the Pleiadians. I myself am an interplanetary. I found this out long ago. I am Arcturian, and let me tell you a little bit about Arcturians, okay? So Arcturians are interesting. They're very intelligent. They have great hearts, and they care so greatly, so deeply. And they are like the grandparents of humankind, okay? And so if you think of Arcturians as the grandparents, then the Pleiadians are the parents, okay? So they kind of worked with the Pleiadians and so on down the line. They are amazing beings, and one day they just showed up, and who showed up was the commander of the starship, one of the starships. There are many, and they sort of patrol the galaxy, watching over it. And if there's any kind of disruption, because you think, well, really, that's going on out there? Well, what goes on out there is kind of similar to sort of a power thing that goes on down here in a sort of way, but it's in a different way. And so out there, it's much more sophisticated and energetic and all than what is here. But so they are kind of watching over things, and they have been here since before mankind and watching everything, but not really getting involved. And actually, my understanding was that there was a time where they did get involved, and they were sorry that they did get involved because it didn't go the way they exactly wanted it to. And so they have stepped out of the picture, so to speak, in handling things, and they're observing. So they observe now, they guide, they have opened what we call a portal or a gateway or a tunnel for the allowing of the light to come in. Everybody familiar with the light coming in right now? Okay. So the light is zillions of particles of photons, and that connects with our DNA. So it's really kind of like, as the dimmer switch goes on, we can see more. Well, this is really kind of the dimmer switch is highlighting or illuminating our spiritual DNA, which we carry from lifetime to lifetime. So all that record of everything is within us, okay? And so that's why when we call waking up, there is a remembrance of this information within us. And we have actually been, through the help or the what do I want to say? The Anunnaki from long ago created an enslaved populace. And the Arcturians actually knew that this was going on. And the Anunnaki needed in slavery of beings. It was the primates, actually. Certain primates that had stayed behind, that kind of lost their window of opportunity to go back to their dimension. They stayed behind, and now they're here. And so the Anunnaki really took advantage and used that. And so as a homeopath of many years, we understand that there are different brain parts, right? Well, this is the loop, and it's in what we call the animal part of the brain, okay, which is the back part, the occipital area. It's not the higher brain, which is where you meditate and go into your higher places. The animal brain is a loop. It just plays that pattern. It's like the skip in the record, I call it, over and over. And so you can live, you can exist and do all that, but that just continues to just kind of get hung up, right? And so part of it is, some of us I hear saying, well, it's just so hard to move out of my stuff. And it is, because you've got this animal loop going on over and over and over. And that's why the light is so imperative to connect with, because that is helping the illumination of that which is within us, so that this will just eventually go darker. So I had a scientist I was working with that asked me, well, can you take a look at the DNA and tell me about the DNA, what you see? So I'm looking at the DNA, and I know I have a picture of it somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. What real DNA looks like. No, I'm not going to. So it's interesting to look at DNA energetically. You've got the swirl. Then you've got, on the DNA, you've got these hundreds and hundreds of little spots on the DNA. And how I see it is like they're shooting out energy out of it. So there's a lot within one marker on the DNA, okay? So with that marker, so there's some that are light and some that are dark, right? So what we're looking for as the animal loop begins to change, we're looking to highlight more that who we really are, and this going darker, okay? So, it's interesting when I've heard people say, I just want to get rid of the ego. I want to get rid of the ego. You're supposed to have an ego. The ego is for your benefit. It's being egotistic or egocentric that you really want to change, okay? So don't want to get rid of the ego. Everything that you need is encapsulated in that. You just want to alter the egocentric part of it, okay? Just trying to cover some things here that I've heard people talking about since we've been here at the conference and that. Let's see. I want to talk for a minute about, I've had some questions about 4D. People asking, why are we skipping 4D? The answer is we're not skipping 4D, okay? We're going to sail through 4D. Well, why are we not stopping in 4D? Why are we going right to 5? Well, 4D is too close to 3D. And it is a little like 5D, but not as much. Not close enough to where the design, the grand plan has designed us to be. We need to be in 5D. This is part of the plan and has been, instilled for a very long time because there are things that are going to happen in 5D. And 4D just doesn't supply that enough. But I will say there are times where you will enter into 4D, like in your meditation, and you go into the deeper brainwave frequencies. I know I'm there quite often enough, and you can even tip into 5D at times if you're aware of what that really feels like. I want to talk a little bit about what 5D is really about. And then I want to do a little meditation. Let me just see if I can find this. Okay. No, it's not that. Let's see if I can find it. What is 5D like? Okay. Wait, I think. Is that what's up on there? Yeah, okay, good. It's working. Okay. So what is 5D? Well, 4D is not quite close enough. We're not going to have the capability of time travel and the things that 5D will offer. You're not quite outside the time continuum. We're going to do a little bit of that today too. You're beginning telepathic communication, but you're not using it totally. Telepathic communication. I mean, have you ever stood by somebody and knew exactly what they were thinking? I mean, and there have been times where, I'll give you an example, where my husband will say something in the middle of the night, and I'll answer him. And we're both sleeping, so we're outside that continuum, There will be, at first, planetary travels in that, and then we're going to go into cosmic travels. So that capability of dematerialization, of moving through energy, and what I understand is this is all about just changing the frequencies and the ability. When I was in, when I was in Aramu Maru, there was this portal there. I mentioned this in the lecture yesterday. It was a distance from Titicaca. and massive, massive stone structure. And there were 3 doorways. One went half circle like this, then we had the sort of strange, odd rectangle, and then another curvature. So I stood in the first one, and I could just feel nice energy movement. It felt different than before I had stood in it. And then I was supposed to stand in the other curved one. And as I went into it and I stood for a moment, I started to feel like, who here knows Star Trek? Yeah, okay. And the beam me up Scotty experience, okay? I started to feel like I was dematerializing. That's really outside the continuum. I wasn't doing it, I'm going to tell you. I didn't just say, oh, magically, oh, I just want to do this, okay? It was what was going on. It was a portal, right? And then the third was I was to stand in this doorway, and in this doorway is this little curve where you put your third eye to, okay? So I'm standing there, as I think you can see, yeah, standing there, and suddenly the portal opened, and there were 3 beings, and they just looked a little bit like a cloud, but their head was sort of like this, the body just like that, 3 of them. There was 1 in the back, 2 in the front. So 3, the magic number, right? And they said to me, and I mean, I can't even tell you, there's no words to describe the experience of just standing there as this portal opened. And I stood there, and one of them addressed me telepathically and said, would you like to come with us? I'm like, well, I wasn't prepared for that, Oh, wow. And I had to think for a second, because you're like, got 30 seconds. Okay. I said, I have work to do here, and I'm going to remain here. My family is here, but I would like to go the next time, okay? So please come back and see me. Unbelievable. And when I left, we walked back down the rock. I went to sit, and I just bawled. But it wasn't sadness. It was the most incredible cry I ever had in my life. Overwhelming. And when we sat for dinner that night, because we had brought a tour group there, right? When we sat there that night at dinner, people commented that there was like this white glow all around me. And, it was this experience. This is what it's like. Who does not want that? Who? I mean, really, if we could jump up above our lives and say, that's what I'm going to get, you would drop everything, all your BS, you would drop it on the floor in a second, and okay, I'm going there right away. Because what this is, and I experienced this with people, and I'll say like a portion of this, okay? Some are much more heightened than others. When I bring people into regression, soul regression, so I do past life, I do between lives, and I do future lives, soul regression with folks, okay? And we always, always stop to experience your higher self. And I have to tell you that is the cherry on top. For most people also, it's my cherry because I love to watch people have this experience of who we are, the magnificent souls that each and every one of you really, truly are, without our baggage, without the illusion that we have, without that animal loop going on. This is who you are. You can stand in yourself. I can feel it right now. Every time I even talk about it, I can feel viscerally, my body feels like it tingles, and I can just feel the magnificence that begins to unleash out of us. I'll have some of that, okay? That is what you're doing this for. That's what these challenges are for, because as we clear them away, we are moving into that. And I don't know anybody that knows what that feels like that doesn't want to have that. And what that does is that pushes us more toward that experience. And I will tell you, I've been told by the Arcturians, specifically the commander, because he's brought me up on the ship several times. And he said to me, this is why you have the challenges you do. Because in humanity, It's what pushes you. Think about it. If you don't have a job, what are you going to do? You can sit as a couch potato, or you're going to get up and you're going to search and you're going to go after a job, right? If you don't have the relationship you want, you're going to work at it, right? It's in our human nature. And that's why we on earth have in third D created the obstacles so that it is what drives us in to moving closer. That kind of sounds weird in a bit of a way, but that's what it's about. So what I want to do is I have two, what I call them journeys, meditations, whatever you want to call them. The first one is we're going to, can everybody hear me? Okay, good. I wasn't, I should have asked them. The first one is intergalactic and interspecies communication. There is an exercise to do that will help you open up to be able to do this, okay? But it's very timely. It takes some work, takes some consistency to do this in this manner, right? So I'm going to give you a little taste of the beginning of it, but it's a series of experience, each one unfolding more and more that you can do. And when you have reached it, you just keep working with it. You will continue to expand. How many, when you meditate, when you inhale and exhale, between the inhalation and exhalation, do you find there's a space? How many? Okay, we all know this. Okay, great. So we're going to expand upon that, because as you expand upon that, you get closer and closer, all right? But also what you're going to do as you're doing that is that I also want you, when you close your eyes, I want you to see the entire room all the way around you. I want you to see the front of the room, the side. I want you to notice everything, top, bottom, everything, in the time while you're doing this, okay? So I'm just setting it up a little bit. There's so much more to take you into it. We don't have time today. It's something that I do teach so that we can have more of this experience and taking us in and communicating. And who here likes to communicate with the animals? Okay, well, this is a great exercise if you like to communicate with the animals, okay? So this will give you that also. So sit back, put your feet on the ground, close your eyes. And I always say a little prayer or a little mantra or something before we do. May our doors and gates and pathways be open between our worlds, and the paths and doors and gates that wish us or those that we love any harm be closed. And so it is. Aho. Okay. So focus on your inhalation and your exhalation. And don't change the rhythm of your breath at all. Just allow yourself to go into it and follow your own pulsation. And while you breathe this way, focus on that gap, that little spot for a moment between your inhale and exhale. And as you do, as your breathing gets more shallow, this is a calming of your mind and body complex. So be patient. Let it happen on its own. Don't force. It will happen, and just relax. And continue to focus on this gap between inhalation and exhalation. And the gaps get longer, and your breath, you may find, there be a pause, and you may even stop breathing, and that is okay. And when your breath is very shallow and or it stops altogether, then I want you to shift your attention to the pineal gland in the center of your head and hold your awareness on two central areas of attention. The gap between the inhales and exhales and the pineal gland. And as you do this, you'll settle into a deeper state. And now I want to add the third piece. And as you focus on the pineal gland, you hold the intention that the mind bridge opens between you and whomever you wish to communicate with. You'll begin to receive an inflow of impressions. Don't think at all. Just allow yourself to receive them. And as you do, you'll be able to lock in the tuner to the frequency you wish to communicate with. So like the channel, the dial, just intend, that's all you need do. Just intend to tune in to that which you choose, because it's all about your choice and intention. And now become familiar with that vibratory quality of feeling in that zone. Just feel it with your senses. Recognize it. Know what it feels like. Feel it in your body. You become familiar with this, and you can receive all types of frequencies. Some of these frequencies are pure and some are not. So you need to be responsible. Some are accurate and some are not, delivering information. And if you encounter a being who tells you what you must do, don't have anything to do with that any further. You have a sovereign will, and it is your greatest power. Do not give it away. And the responsibility of the outcome is yours. So feel that vibration. Get real familiar with it. That's right. Okay, we're going to come back now. So what I want you to do is just wiggle your toes. Feel the seat you're sitting on. Just feel it. Wiggle your fingers. Maybe kind of like wiggle in your chair a little. Take a breath in. It's a deep place, so come on back, because we're going deeper in a little bit. Just wanted you to experience this. There's so much more from this place where you can go. This is just the beginning of this experience. And this will take you into communication. Can anybody, or would anybody, like to say something about what they experienced?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
okay.
only that, in the beginning, my whole, I was attempting to do Christ consciousness, right? But in the beginning, my whole throat felt like it was, like I was going to cough and cough and cough and cough and cough and cough. It was so odd.
Yeah.
And then when you said like, okay, stop and take control of it, and then it became like so crystal clear, and I could see like a golden thread,
wow.
I call it. And I was like, wow. But it was like it was going to be a distraction or something.
Yeah.
It was not become, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
Weird.
So what?
Cool.
So what's your takeaway on that? What do you think?
I don't know, like almost like it was some kind of a, I don't know, I say a defense mechanism because
Yeah.
it's not the right words on this planet. But,
Yeah.
you know, it was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Some part of you just maybe wasn't
Yeah, it
willing
was
to go
kinda-
so
yeah,
easily, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was like, got so clear.
You overwrote. You took the computer and you overwrote it, right? Yeah. Super good. I love that. That's great. I love it. Anybody else want to say something in the back?
Ask you what you said towards the middle of the meditation. I was breathing less
Oh, you were. Okay.
and very small. At the beginning, it was really good. And why is that?
Why is that? Because you're moving through your vibration and it's changing. You are changing. So from your conscious brain. So I want to talk for a minute. I'll answer that question. So we are in a dense matter. We are in 3D, right? When we do trance-like work or hypnotic work, or we go into the deeper, what happens is you're going through the lower brain waves frequencies, okay? And it's getting lower and lower and deeper and slower, so that space that we don't even acknowledge begins to expand and open. And that's your space where you're connecting more into the access of your higher self. So it's your frequency that's changing, okay? And you are connecting, and that's the space that you have that great relationship with where you want to go with that, okay? So your high self or wherever you want to go.
Yeah, because I did notice the space, even though
Yeah.
the breath was short, there was
Yeah.
like a 5-6 inches and to where, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. You did well. Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just really curious what you would say about this. So when you said that we could choose what frequency, I was like, well, I want to go to the highest frequency. So I didn't really know what that meant exactly.
Be careful what you ask for.
So what I saw was like this kind of like, I can't explain it because it was like an angelic face. And then it opened its mouth and it was like so painful, kind of to hear. It was like too high or something. So then I went, maybe not the highest version, maybe like one down. And then I saw like hands on a piano, and I was hearing this incredible music, and I was just like feeling how divinely inspired it was, and what I was hearing was like, this is the level that Mozart got to, and that it's like, it's high level creativity. And so as a musician, I was like, this is where I definitely want to be hanging out. But I did not understand why the higher one was like painful.
Well, because it wouldn't be painful if you resonated at a certain level, you would be able to accept it. So there's a certain, So let me just put it this way. If we were to accept in higher than what we're capable of, we'd spontaneously combust.
That's kind of what it's telling us.
Yeah, okay.
Happened.
So you had a moment, right?
I had a moment.
So they moved you down. So sound is very important in the language. I will tell you, Mozart was Arcturian, okay? And actually listening to Mozart music will actually take, and I think there's a specific one, but I don't remember the number or the concerto it is, but it will, you know it? Oh, okay. It will take you in deeper. It will connect you to the Arcturians. And just as I'm saying this, I just want to tell you, it popped into my brain. Jesus, Sananda, and Mary Magdalene were also Arcturian. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of connection there and to the music and the sound. And they're very connected to sound. So they speak to you through sound. So you're at that level. Keep going for it. You're there. All right. Awesome. I love it. Anyone else?
Hi there.
Hi.
So, wow, I am still, I didn't even think I could speak because I'm still in the vibration. And I connected with this rainbow column of light and with the high frequencies of Sanata and Jesus, and I'm still vibrating at that frequency. And when you just said now they're connected with sound and all of that, well, I'm a sound healer, of course.
Perfect.
So it's just, I feel the current still, like from my head up, just my whole being is just vibrating with that still.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I do want to mention, I'll catch you in a second. I do want to mention, like I did say a little earlier when you were in that place, you may have or may not have heard me, come on in, is that we must be responsible and we must be mindful of that which is coming in, because all energy is in our 3D understanding, not good energy. It's our perspective that it could do harm, okay? And you must be discerning of energy. So I think that's a key to self-mastery is discernment, okay? So I just want to do a little exercise with you for a second, okay? Okay. So just everybody kind of just do this, okay? Well, wait, stop. Okay, back up. Okay, do this. Okay, we've all done this. Kids do this, like, yeah, you know. Okay, stop. Okay, now just feel, right? We can all feel that. Anybody who doesn't feel that, I mean, it's kind of hard not to feel it, right? Feels like rubber band or something, right? You know, you could glue, like pulling the glue apart. Magnets. Okay, but you feel the energy, right? I mean, it's the way anybody feels energy. Feel the energy? Okay, super good. All right. Now, do this. Like this. Can you feel it? You feel the energy, right? It slips between your fingers. Yeah, you can feel it. It's almost like there's a field around you, right? Can you feel the field around you? Okay. You're discerning. This is what it is. You're using your sense of things, of yourself, to feel, all right? This is kind of what it's about. Discernment, having a sense of whether something feels right or it doesn't feel right, okay? That's responsibility. That's being accountable for ourselves. We need to do that when you are in energy, and we're always in energy, right? Everything pretty much is electromagnetic frequency, right? So you're in my frequency, I'm in your frequency, this whole place is frequency. We know that, right? There's a lot of frequency going on here, right? And I don't know about you, but it affects, right? You know, I go to bed, I'm tired. A lot of energy going on, right? So because the more sensitive to energy, and what that really means is the more discerning, the more you feel energy, right? The more you're going to be aware of how things are. So Who here, raise your hand, who here, when somebody says, like, you know, I told Aunt Sally that I didn't like her outfit, you know. Who here gets a feeling right away within you? You can just feel something. Either it feels good or it doesn't. Or the waiter brings over something to your table and it's like you immediately know whether that's going to feel good or not feel good. Who here kind of can get, you know, have a handle on that? Yeah? Okay. So that's discernment. So in these meditations, when you're connecting out there, you must use your discernment, because like when you said it showed up as an angel and then out of its mouth came this sound, right? And you knew immediately that you should not be in that vibration, right? Perfect. That's it. You got it, girl. You really do. That's where we need to be. We need to discern always have the little, you know, feelers out, you know, of what the energy really feels like. You know, you just walk into somebody's presence and you feel something immediately, right? Or you get talking to somebody. Well, I don't know how many people feel this, but I have walked into many people's energy and felt like the wolf in sheep's clothing. They're not what they present themselves to be, right? And it's not just people, it's situations too. Oh, it's this. And it's like, when you peel it back, it's like, not quite, you know? And you get a feel, right? So this is energy. And when you go in and you're working outside of your own self, you are privy to a lot of energy out there, right? And they can come in and do all kinds of things. Lately, I've been working with people that have spirits in their house. So I'm going to explain for a second what's going on. So as the gateway is open and the light is coming in, okay, it is for all of humanity. We're all alive, but there are many spirits walking the earth that are in the go-between, okay? They have not crossed over. And they're kind of lost. They really don't understand where they are. So, and then there are those that have crossed over and haven't really moved on, some of them, okay? And so they're there also. This gateway, as the energy and the light is coming in, it is affecting all of us, including those that are not physically in physical form, right? So there's a lot going on out there, you know, and we're not thinking about this every moment of the day, right? So you have to use your discernment. You have to listen to what you feel, you know? And if it's like, I don't know about you, but I get like this little force field when I shouldn't be going somewhere or doing something. I get this little force field. It just feels like I'm going to move where I just shouldn't move, you know? So this is what we have to really be responsible of. And for me, because I read energy and being a receptacle of energy and a communicator of energy, I'm very mindful of clarity as the energy comes through. I want to portray it as clearly as possible. So we need clarity, we need discernment. This is a key to self-mastery. Okay, any questions so far of where we've been and all that? Okay, who is ready for another meditation? Who wants, oh, good, okay. Super good. So this meditation, it goes beyond meditation, okay? And that was a primer. That's why I did that one first. I sort of feel like this is the guts of it. And you can do this over and over, and I hope you will actually do this over and over, because this meditation is going to take you to an Arcturian. And now I picked Arcturian because that's my people, you know. So I really love the Arcturians. And they're very knowledgeable and so full of wisdom and so happy and ready to be there to help us. So I love that, you know. Like I said, we're all different. maybe some not quite as much. Some have a little more of an agenda, like the gray, you know, like I said, the grays and other species that I've met, like Dracos, insectoids, and so on and so forth. You know, some of them. Although, let me stop and mention though, you know, when we talk about those, okay, and I can say it too, and I apologize for that. We can have a little bit of a negative connotation toward them, right? Who here has a little bit of a feeling like that? Okay. Yeah. Well, and if you've had an encounter with them, sometimes it's not their best or greatest encounter, right? They can be a little, you know, standoffish. But I will say, not the entire species of all of them are really like that. There is a percentage that are actually helping the rest of the species to move forward through their dimension also. And that's a great thing. Like I get excited about that, you know. I think that's a great thing that we could actually see the reptilians, okay, move from where they are into a higher, more loving energy. Yeah, I think that would be great. So know that there are those that are working to help them get there of their own species. Okay, I just thought I'd inject that thought. So what we're going to do, we're going to venture into 5D at this point. Now, I'm going to say, you know, there's a couple chairs there. Please take those seats. Thanks. So this is going to be through the eyes of an Arcturian. It's going to connect us to the pyramids. Egypt has everything to do with the Arcturians as it continues to unfold for me. I wish I had like 12 hours in the day to spend with everyone because, with them, because it would be so great to just have all this information continue to bubble out, but unfortunately I have to work, right? So you know, there's just so much information to behold from them, and they're so willing to give it, you know, just not enough time. But this is a great way to get in touch with them. They want to share information with us. I want you to have the experience of stepping outside of yourself and connecting through an interdimensional like the Arcturian, because I feel they're safe to work with. They are very safe to work with. And so I want to see, and hopefully that you'll be able to continue to do this in future time for yourself. So, feet on the ground, get comfortable, close your eyes. And we're going to elicit the Arcturian guides to work with us. So what I'm going to do, I brought my drum because I thought this might aid us a little in the sound. It's going to help us, just this drone sound of the drum will take us in just a little bit, okay? So I'm just going to play it real soft and just listen to the sound of the beat. And as we go into this meditation, okay? And I want to set this up just for a second before we go in. Don't think too much. Your brain has a way of overriding the experience. So just allow yourself to go in. Wherever you go is just perfect, okay? All right. So now, I'd like for you to lift yourself up to a place over the earth. Just allow yourself to float up over the earth, where we'll all connect together. And this is a special energy grid that is open at this moment for us to connect. And in this higher state and frequency, I want you to envision a pyramid. And now focus your energy and your attention on the pyramid. Notice what it's made of. Notice the color. texture. And now bring your consciousness to a point on top of that pyramid, right on the very top. You can see it. You're right there. And from that point, feel your consciousness separating from your physical and etheric body. And as it does, allow yourself to expand further and further away from your body. You're floating away from it. You're coming away from it. Don't resist. Just allow yourself to separate. And notice how good that feels. And now we are moving as a collective consciousness in this energy grid. And from this point on top of the pyramid, and in a collective consciousness with the Arcturians, I want you to see a long, beautiful, light-filled tunnel. And allow yourself to travel through it. Down through it. This is the corridor to the 5th dimension. Now invoke and intend by asking an Arcturian guide to step forward just through your intention. You can say, I would like to have an Arcturian guide to connect with me at this time. And place your consciousness now in that Arcturian guides that has been assigned to you. It has come of free will and is here to serve you. And now you can venture out into an aspect of the 5th dimension by putting your consciousness into that guide that has been assigned to you. Allow yourself to step out. You are safe with this guide. And look through the eyes of this guide. Ask this guide for help to see through its eyes, to see in this dimension, to experience this. You are in a very highly trained being. Feel, see, taste, experience with all of your senses. raising the crown chakra energy within the Arcturian guide. It's like an antenna, so watch it raise. You can and will receive many different instructions and pieces of information about yourself. And this information can be transmitted through your consciousness and through the antenna of your Arcturian guide. And now this is being transferred to you. So you can continue this experience in 5D light. However, it will be hard for your Arcturian guide to stay with you because this is a lower vibration than what it can sustain. And there are limitations. So receive this information. Give thanks to the guide. Know that you can access this again if you desire. Know that this guide can come again and bring this information, more opportunity to go into 5D. Know that you are learning how to elevate your frequency. So now we're going to return. Take your time coming back. It's okay. Sometimes when you go in, it just feels good to be there. You don't want to come back. So, anybody want to share an experience, what they saw, what they felt? Go ahead.
So I actually saw a being who I had met before one time when I was stuck in sleep paralysis. I was trying to telepathically tell my roommate to come wake me up, and instead I ended up on the ground, and this like bluish hand reached down to grab me. And when like at first it freaked me out because I was like, oh my god, that's not C.Ht, that's like a being. And then I felt the energy. I was like, oh no, it's helping me. And it grabbed my hand, and then I woke up and I had water splash me in the face. Super weird. And it was that being who came back. And I don't know if Arcturians have like bluish looking hands.
Well, they're kind of different, some of them.
Okay.
Some may have blue hands.
Okay.
And there's different species that have different color too. There's the blue avians that also are blue. So there's, numerous. So did you ask who it was?
I basically just hugged it, and I was like, thank you for helping me that one time.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I went into his body, and then I was seeing like light codes or light language kind of like twirling into my antenna.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was super cool experience.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I love it. You can go back anytime. Very good. Anyone else? Perfect. Super good. Go ahead.
In the first meditation and this one, same thing happens. Both times I felt connected to Source, and then I saw like a bridge connecting me to my girlfriend, and I got the same message twice, which is stay grounded.
Okay.
Just stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Go there.
Okay.
Go there.
Yeah.
But also stay
Stay grounded. Very good advice. I think it's worthwhile. Anyone else want to share? Go ahead.
So mine was a shapeshifter.
Mm-hmm.
I started out with it was a woman, and then it became a llama,
Mm-hmm.
then it was a goat, then a horse, and then a dragon. And it was
Wow.
just like tuning me into like touching the earth and flying into the trees and being wild like a monkey. But it didn't use any language. It just showed me earth.
Okay. For a reason, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the first meditation, I thought, I might have been a failure because I went to sleep.
Okay.
But I always take an afternoon nap.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt real peaceful, and I thought, son, don't judge that.
Right. No, don't judge
The
that.
next one,
You needed a little nap.
I did, yeah. And I felt alive again. And the next one, I had a vision that we're going to be building this luminous labyrinth center for peace, where you can choose what labyrinth design you want to walk, projected on the floor. Surrounding is the bird you want to walk, and overhead images in the dome, for birthdays, marriages, funerals. Anyway, I felt myself rising in this space dome thing, and I was on fire and gold, and I was kind of like flying. I felt like I was getting some melt. Wow. And I wasn't scared, about the whole thing. And so I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Beautiful, beautiful vision, and thank you for this, what you're doing. Wonderful.
How many were able to get behind an interdimensional? Okay, good. That's really good. My words to you are, I hope you won't stop here. It can only get better from here. And that experience that I was explaining before, if this is the experience that you can have by going in. And you will go in quicker, you will go in automatically within moments. The more you practice it, it is like that bicycle riding. You will just go there, okay? So I hope you don't give up. I hope if you desire to go into the fifth dimension, you'll do it more often, because that will raise your frequency, and it will also provide you the opportunity to hear from them much more often, which is so much wisdom comes from them. Also, you may have an opportunity to actually merge with them. The higher your frequency, when they can access within you, is another real experience, but that's another talk at another time. So just, don't give up, keep on moving toward it, and I hope that you'll continue this time.
There are two goals that I am hearing from the interdimensionals, okay? One, right now, which is so very important, is to take care of our health, our bodies. We need to clean up ourselves because we're kind of polluted in a sort of way. That's the first thing. So get your health in good order. Second is to connect with your higher self. If you cannot connect with your higher self, you are not going to be able to connect with anything else. And you need to hear the wisdom. Remember, I talked about earlier in the talk today, there's so much information out there, and we're uncertain always about who's holding the truth, who's bringing the the right information for us. So what I say is always go to the source. And the way you go to the source is through your high self, okay? Once you open that pathway, okay, through the lower frequencies of breathing, and that's why we did the first breath, so that you can train yourself into this breathing process and take your mind out of the chatter and go into those lower brain waves so you can access this. You build a relationship with your higher self. Who here has a best friend or a real close person to them? Mom, dad, friend, sibling, whatever. Okay, good. All right. Who here's best friend is yourself? That's where it's at, okay? Your best friend should be you. It should be you and your relationship to your high self. You got a problem? That's the place you go, okay? That's where your answers come from, all right? Everything else is outside of that. You need to build that relationship because that's where the wisdom is coming in, okay? If we don't have that, we don't have access to anything else, okay? And that's the part of moving into the 5D experience. Who had a 5D experience today? Who wants to have more? All right, super good. Job done. All right, very good. Go ahead.
My question is the body part that you were just mentioning. The last few weeks, T has been crazy. It's not COVID. So during this process, as we are moving the body, what besides like the obvious, the clean eating, exercise, does help, especially with this fatigue.
Yeah. Well, again, as you're moving through things, you're letting go of things. And it takes a lot of energy as we're doing this, okay? So get more sleep, drink lots of water. Those are the two really important things. And check in on what's going on deep within you that you might have some challenge or wrestling with, you know, maybe the emotional things are really bogging us down and weighing us down. So that's a possibility too. So just stick with it. Stick with it. Be good to yourself. Very important. Go ahead.
Okay, does light have different properties in 5D?
Does light, well,
Like,
light,
for example, light is at a specific speed here.
right.
Is it different there?
Yes, because here on Earth it's condensed by the speed of light, okay? But when you get outside of that, it moves in a different way. How to explain that? Well, I'm not a scientist, so I really can't explain it. It's just very different. It's crunched here in 3D because we need it to be, because we need a time element, okay? Because we have to exist in time. It's the way 3D works, so to speak, okay? When you get out of that, it's different.
What I got was that whoever I was communicating with was sort of in a light suit.
Oh.
It was like they existed in kind of a light suit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of,
I'd go back in and find...
I'm
I'd go back in and I'd find out who is this that's communicating with you, and then ask, what do they want to convey to you? They didn't show up by accident. They came for a reason. Oh, yeah, good.
They said you're willful. They said you're willful. And the problem is you're willful,
Can you
but
see?
you're not. Yeah, you're willful, but you're not strong enough.
Oh, okay.
In other words, there's nothing they can tell us.
Right.
It's your free will, but
Right.
you're not strong enough to do anything.
Okay. All right. Well,
That's what I got.
pay heed. Pay heed. So, you know, I was going to leave a little bit at the end to do some light language communication. Who's got a couple minutes? So let me get into a space and see if I can access the light beings to leave us with some information that is automatically going to connect into your DNA. You may not be able to understand the language. You probably won't. I don't even know if I will. So I ask everybody to be quiet for a moment. It has been our pleasure to be here and observe and light the way for all of you. You all are beautiful souls and hold the light for all the rest of humanity. Graciously, we will provide the light to continue blessing and bringing what is needed for humanity. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And please continue to shine your light.